Good morning, my friends. We are back again. Today we're going to begin the tutorial for a secret garden. So I'm going to help you first to lay out the pencil drawing to map our space, and then we'll come back and talk about colors and begin. The first thing that we want to talk about is that we want a vertical orientation for this particular image. You can do it horizontally, but it'll change the proportions of things, so you have to make that adjustment if you choose to do it the other way. I'm making a line here just to tell myself the horizon line in this picture. We'll have a lot of it covered up, but we need to know the depth of field back here inside of our garden gate door because of shading and things. So I put that there. And then the main other thing that we're going to draw with our pencil is a sort of arc that starts. Let's see. I'm looking at how far it is down from there. I think it's about right in here. And we're going to kind of draw, it's a circular shape that ends, I'm playing around with where I want to put it, about here. So what we're going to do is draw kind of an arc, and we can change the arc. Okay, and I'm going to put that about right there. I may end up curving it a little bit, so I want to make sure that we get that sort of foreshortened look. So that's a general place right there. But let's just make sure. We want it to kind of actually go, I'm thinking about how I want to do this. Almost kind of straight, actually. So there, and then it kind of curves here and then drops straight. Okay, so try to get that in there. Or if you want to just go really simple, you can just use a lid, but this is not exactly a circle. It's a little different, and I'm not quite getting it where I want it yet, so as you know from my past videos, I am okay with erasing. I like to have a pretty good map out of space before I begin, so that I have the proportions about right. And let's go ahead and lay in. I think I'm going to go ahead and lay in another section here. There's going to be a line there, and this is going to come up a little bit. Like there's going to be like an edge of the garden area here. And then this. I might have made that too archy here. Boy, my eraser's a hot mess today, isn't it? I'm using a school eraser instead of an art eraser, so it's a little bit messy. Let's see. This is going to be the bottom of our trellis into our secret garden. Maybe a line there and there. And then we have this, there's a little space here where we have a sort of craggly rock line that goes like that. And then on this side of the trellis, which will be up, now you don't have to draw this part in, we can paint it, but I'm just showing you kind of what we're thinking of here. Something like that. And it's going to be vines and other things, okay? So we'll fill that in. You don't have to draw this. I'm just trying to get you to understand how we're making the picture. And then there's another rockly crag here. It sort of tapers off, okay? Not really happy with this. I need to clean my eraser, geez. All right, so we have our trellis area. Don't make this super perfect because we're actually going to do vines all over that to create it. This is just so that you can kind of see the area in which we will put the trellis that goes into our secret garden. Okay, now if you want to, you can take this off because that will all be covered up with trees. And the only thing that we're going to see is this sort of shadow behind, because this will be like a wall of foliage. And through this little arch gateway of grapevine, it looks like, we are going to see a darkened area and some, maybe some florals or something in there. Okay? All right, the other thing I want to do really quick is we're also going to draw some paver stones. So over here, we're going to draw some shapes. They can be sort of curved like this. Maybe this one's a little bit different. My kitty cat is very vocal today, so please excuse her loud kitty cat meows. She's climbing on top of the bookcase. She likes to be high in the sky in the house. Okay, so just some sort of paver stone orientation. Maybe you don't like the way I drew the paver stones. You can draw them the way you want to. And then we're going to have some flowers in here. There'll be a tree coming down here. So you can see, get my brush here. And this is basically the orientation of this secret garden painting. Okay? So we'll come back in a minute and I'll show you the colors for the palette. All right, we're back. I've got my palette here. Let me show you what I've got. I've got a brown, a little bit of black. I put some white in here. I'm not sure if I'll need it, so I put extra white. I've got a white with a dot of brown, some green with some white, and some regular green. And right now we're going to lay in some background color areas, and then we'll have to let it dry. So let's kind of look and see what we'd like to do here. First, I think I'm going to start with maybe laying in this black area. This is going to be dark in this arc right here. So we're going to just create a dark space in here. Now, a lot of this will be, some of it on the edges will be covered up as we go along. But this just represents the dark area inside the secret garden, and there'll be foliage, just a shadow. Okay, and it's, you know, fairly straight. We're going to bring in the floor here later, so just create a black space there, and we're probably going to create a little bit of dark right in here. So you can just make like a little spot sort of like that, which will fade into brown when we get done. And maybe there's just a little bit of shadow down here. So we're just laying in some darks that'll have some other colors on top of it. So go ahead and do that. This isn't exactly perfect, but we're going to end up putting some browns and some other things on top. Okay, so you can even bring that down a little bit. And this is all this is a shadow. And if you just trust me. I know it's hard when you don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be a shadow. And we will have some other areas where we might add black too, but they're going to be mostly brown mixed in. Okay, so clean your brush really good. Make sure that it is not leaving any black. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create this sort of pale green. I'm not sure that I want to mix all that in there. I kind of want it to stay kind of light. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're actually going to kind of fill this space with a pale green. Okay, and all we are doing right now is just sort of creating a backdrop. Maybe some areas up here, just like where the sunlight is hitting the trees a little bit. This is more advanced painting, so I hope you guys are ready. All right. Let's see what I want to do. I think I want to take this brush right here, and you know, I may have changed my mind. Maybe my head's on the screen. I don't know. Sorry. I'm going to add just the tip of this black into here. Ooh, this brush is hard. Just a tip to create just a slightly more muted green. A touch of water in there. And I'm going to start just dappling in. And what we're doing right now is just sort of patting in. I really want it to be smaller rather than bigger. Maybe I want to use my fan brush for this. And we're just kind of creating a little bit of a shadow with some other things going on. This is not the main gig, but it's a backdrop. Making a lot of racket with my brush. And we're just creating some interest in the background, okay? So, you know, got to be careful about too much of the same kind of strokes. You can even come this way a little, just to smooth it in. Okay. Kind of liking that. All right. Then let's take, boy, I keep hitting that. I'm so sorry, my friends. My glasses are on top of my head. When I have my glasses on my head, it keeps hitting the camera. All right, so let's come down here and let's put in a little of this. Let's make a little bit of this color again. Let's add a little brown to it this time. And we're going to kind of paint the background behind our pavers. This is just a base color that we're going to use. And then we'll do some sort of blotchy things on top of it for fun. A little bit of brown and green, or you can use black and green, but don't go too crazy with the black. I put green and brown because I thought that'd be a good base color. So what I'm trying to do is create that space that is behind the blades of grass that stick up. So this is the shadow of those grasses. And we can kind of do some wigglies. Remember that we're doing the underpainting right now. So in painting, you know, a lot of the stuff that we do on this page for the kids is pretty much one-step stuff, but this is going to be a little bit more involved. So this is underpainting. So, and a lot of times underpainting, some artists do the opposite color of what they're going to paint on top. So if they were going to paint green on the top, they would paint a reddish hue underneath, which is why this kind of works, because this brown has red in it. I don't know if you can tell that. It's warm. So it's going to create some interest here below. And I'm just kind of dabbing some of that warmer brown in some places. I might even put a little on this edge over here. Remembering that this doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to kind of get the area covered. And we're going to kind of give our pavers a little bit of interest here. This is how we can make them look a little bit more organic. Okay. Alrighty. Then we're going to take our fan brush. And I'm going to go in here and create some of this color again over here with the white and the green. And I'm going to go with more green this time. Ooh, that's a lot of paint. So I'm going to wipe this off a little bit. I'm trying to get it all off my brush as much as possible and then give it a little wipe. We don't want this fan brush to be overloaded too much. And then we're just going to kind of, maybe we should do some little flicks. And we're just sort of creating a little fake texture there, okay? Not too much though, because we're going to go in with some darks too, and short strokes. This is a little area of grass just before our secret garden. Try experimenting a little with your brush, like directions. I like to pull up from the rock a little bit just to make it look like it's actually there, you know. Okay, so that part's done. This is all going to be a sort of dark green. This is going to be brown. And I don't know. There's part of me that kind of feels like we should just fill that in up there. What do you think? Should we just go ahead and fill this in? It's a little different in my study picture that I'm looking at, but I think we can just make it simple, not make it quite so complicated. And then we'll just put the foliage on top there. And I'm going to make this part lighter. I'm going to mix it right on the canvas. Just kind of, we want some different levels of white because we want it to look like the sun. I'm just mixing this with the green on the canvas. Just to kind of look like there's sunlight pouring in here on this foliage. So it's super light because the sun is hitting it. So I'm actually literally putting straight white on here and just mixing kind of on the canvas, and this sort of gives the backdrop that kind of gives the appearance that the sun is hitting these really light leaves. Okay, that's the plan anyway. All right. Now we're going to make a kind of light brown, and we're going to paint our path. So the first thing we're going to start with is the lightest value. I'm going to move this brown up to the side a little bit. And we're going to kind of make a sandy path. I'm going to touch this black just a little bit because we want it to have a kind of, just a smidgen of gray to it, but not too much. I don't know if y'all can see that. Okay, so let's paint in this place. This is all going to be pebbly kind of spots. We're going to kind of come up around where our trellis is going to be, and we're going to paint in here. Oop, got a little messy there. Come all the way down to this little railing here. And then this is going to go all the way back up here, although it's going to get darker in certain parts. Okay, so let's talk about how we can make this look like it's going back in space. We're going to start taking a little bit more brown into that same color. And right back here, it's going to be kind of starting to get shadowed. And we are even going to bring darker colors in, but we're just going to start kind of tapping. Then it gets a little lighter right there, and then it kind of gets darker again. Then we're going to kind of bring it out this door a little bit. And then, let's see, what do we want to do? We put a little bit back here behind our trellis. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more black to it. And we're going to lay in some pretty deep little splatters right in here. Maybe we're going to put some down here. I'm going to make kind of a rock base. Okay, and then over here, let's put in some of these darks in here, like little pebbles. Probably should have done a dark background on that first, but I'm going to touch a little bit of that red in there and start to bring in some warmer tones to some of these rocks. We don't want too many of them to be reddish, but maybe this guy here is sort of a warm color. So just hit some spots in there to kind of give us some depth to our paver stones. I'm going to add a little bit of white and brown together up here. Ooh, it's very red. Not sure if I like that or not. Quite a bit of white. Still don't like that. I'm going to use this white and make a new. That's really what I'm looking for right there. And then we're just going to hit these rocks just a little bit, these paver stones. Some of the parts can be super white. So I'm going to get a smaller brush and just go seems to be mixing quite a bit on the canvas, so I'm not keeping those clean whites like I'd like. Okay, let's think here. Maybe we want to lay a dark brown where the trellis is going to be, and then we might need to take, well, I'm not going to say that. Black and brown. What we're doing is a dark brown shadow, and we're going to place the shadow right where the trellis will be, because that will be our darks. Okay? Doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of get a wide band. And this is going to lay our space where we're going to put some windy vines. And while it's still wet, let's take one of our smaller round brushes, I'm going to take some of this brown and stick it there, and I'm actually going to add a little water to it to thin it out just a little bit. I wish I had a slip trail brush. And we're going to hit some highlights on here like this. We're going to kind of curve. We're going to create this sort of viney look here. I'm sort of twisting my brush as I go to kind of create this sort of spindly. It's a lot like what we did with our lattice in the peacock picture. Whoa! That was special. It doesn't look so good right now, does it? I'm just creating some vines. Some of them can go out. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we still create that shadow by leaving some of these places, especially right in here, kind of dark. So I'm using some more of that really dark brown, and we're going to just keep those shadows nice and dark right in here. Gonna hit with some highlights where the sun is hitting maybe one of these vines as it goes up. I'm taking white on my brush to create some highlights. More white. Maybe there's a little bit of sun in here hitting some of these branches. Be sure to clean your brush in between. And then we're going to make a dark green using let's use this dark brown real quick, and let's fill this in with some shadow. Don't be afraid to add a little water to it and get a kind of a scrub into that black there. This is really just the shadow behind the things we're getting ready to paint. And I'm going to go ahead and extend it up a little bit. There. This looks really bad right now, and I know that. But what we are doing is creating those deep depths behind. And this is going to be pretty dark over here, right next to this, underneath. So let's go ahead, get that filled in, and then we're going to make a dark green. sort of blend into that space. This is really watered down, and I really like it because it's giving me some cool variations on this. Maybe we want to put some of those darks right here on the edge of that rock too, just to show just the tiniest bit of shadow. And you can use a smaller brush if you want. I'm just using the very tip. This, ooh, that's really dark. I don't want it quite so dark. Adding a little bit more of that light brown in there. And this is going to be very thick. I need to change that a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of take a wet brush that's clean and maybe fan it just a little. Okay? Just kind of blend it really gently. Don't want it to be too intense there, just to give the idea of a little bit of shadow around these rocks. Okay. All right. Let's do some dark green. We have this green, but we need to make it just a little bit darker than what's there. So let's take some green and a touch of black, and we're going to mix a little bit darker green. I'm going to get just a little bit more black. I want it to be pretty good green. And then we're going to lay in just some areas, maybe right here. Just tapping. Maybe some areas right here. And it's still wet, but that's okay. We don't want to mix it too much, but we're just laying in some fields of darker value. Okay, I'm going to kind of come up here a little bit, do a tappy tap. I hope you're starting to sort of see where we're going with this. Maybe just a few things in there in that dark space. Maybe a few things here. Maybe a little bit up here. Just a few. I did pick up some of those whites up there, but it kind of made a nice color. All right, so now we're going to really drive the brush out, and we're going to kind of do some things up here. We're going to go into that white a little bit, okay? Because we want to mute that dark green just slightly. I hope you're kind of starting to feel where we're going with this. Okay. I think the only other thing I want to do is put a little dark gray down in here. So we're going to take black and a scoop of that whitish brown color, maybe a little brown. We're going to make this sort of slate, warm slate gray. I got paint on my finger. And we're just going to come in here and do a little bit of shadowing back in here. It's a little bit warmer than I wanted, but some of these areas, I don't know if you can see really good, but we're going to kind of do a little shading around some of these stones because there's dirt back in there behind those stones. So we're just going to kind of create a few little shadows. And we're going to go in with some lighter rocks on top. So you can actually just, this part, you can just scrub in because we're going to add lighter stones on top. So just go ahead and we're going to smooth this into that black. We're going to scrub it together a little bit. Okay? And that's going to create some nice shadowing. Some darks back in there maybe. Okay, a little bit much water in my pick some of those grays and blotch them in there a little bit. And then we need to do a little area like this right here. So we're going to lay in the darks for that dark background color and kind of going to make kind of a rough stone place right there. Like there are rocks here as well. And some of those rocks are going to come out here. I'm just making like a little shape to guide me about how my stones will lay. Okay. Not super happy with this yet, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put a few stones up here to kind of, or you know, shadows where we can put some stones. And then we'll come back in here and lay some white stones there. All right, let's take a break. Let's let our underpainting dry, and then we're going to come back and add our vavoom.